Okay, welcome everybody again to our Leadership Lunch series today. Today we have Dr. Cheryl Robinson with us, who is going to be talking about Pivot the Perception. Cheryl is a sports marketing coordinator here at Stockton, but wears many other hats as well. Dr. Robinson is the founder of Ready to Roar and is also a contributor on Forbes Women. And so I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Cheryl Robinson. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. And for those of you that I know, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Today, I really want this to be interactive. I wish we were in person because I actually have a really fun hands-on activity that I'm going to translate over into the virtual world. So let's talk about pivoting. Oh, why is my screen not working? All right, here we go. So what do you see in this picture? And anyone, please, I would like this as interactive as possible. What do you see in this picture? Anyone?
I see a princess.
Princess.
Princess, all right. Does anyone else see something different? No? All right. So if you pivot the perception on this picture, now what do you see? Does anyone see the old lady?
Yes. Yes.
How many of you now see both the old lady and the princess in the same picture?
Yep. Old lady.
Yep.
See them both.
Yep. So today we are going to be talking about pivoting the perception, and especially in leadership and in life, you pivot multiple times throughout the day. And today's session, I want to help you be able to see a situation from a different perspective. I am Dr. Cheryl Robinson, AKA Dr. C. I actually did my undergrad and my doctorate program at Stockton, and I did my master's at Columbia University. I'm an international speaker, founder of Ready to Roar, and I have a column at Forbes Women, as Lauren has mentioned. And through my column at Forbes Women, I had to be an expert in something before they actually gave me my column. And my former editor said to me, okay, what are you the expert in? And I had 15 years of experience in sports and entertainment. I started 2 companies, worked on various different projects. And when something didn't work out, I would go from A to B to C. And I said to her, I'm really great at failing forward. She goes, I like it, but it has to be more positive. So it made me reflect more. And I said, well, what does failing forward actually mean? Failing forward is pivoting. It is when plan A doesn't work, you go to plan B, C, D, etc. She said, I love it, run with it. And over the past 3.5 years, I have interviewed over 350 individuals on how they have successfully pivoted in their career. And from that, I was able to do my dissertation on the art of pivoting. I studied pivoting on a deeper level. And from that, I have all these data points that now there's all these different types of pivots, which I'll share later on in the presentation. But that is a snapshot of who I am. Oh, why doesn't this work? Here we go. Here's a question that I would like to throw out to the group. What is your definition of pivoting? Would anyone like to share? Oh, and I can only see a couple people. Anyone? What's your definition of pivoting?
Feel free to just
direction.
Okay. I was going to say, feel free to just unmute and jump in for anybody who wanted to participate. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
I wanted to say from like my experience in marching band in high school, a pivot for us is changing direction kind of, really quickly. And for us, usually it's like, you got to nail it and, do it right, or else somebody else is going to get hurt. So for me, like pivoting is like, all right, you got to change your path, change your trajectory, like for things to go right.
Yep. Great definition. Would anyone else like to share?
I think of like an important like point, like a pivotal point. I don't know
Right,
if that's
go a little bit further with that.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I don't know,
what
kind of
does
like
a pivotal point mean to you?
something like important or like substantially changing. So like you've reached your pivotal point, like this is what you like work towards.
Okay, great. I love it. One more, just one more person chime in.
An
No?
alteration,
Oh, go ahead.
a slight change, a change of direction or alteration of a plan. You know, moving a slightly different direction depending on some circumstances that may have changed, something along those lines.
Yep, great definition. So pivoting is all of this: fail forward, level up, advancement, uncertainty, transitioning, new beginning, going from point A to point C. All the three definitions shared, that is all pivoting. But what's interesting is not one of you touched upon the very first type of pivot, because there are three main pivots. Mindset, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So there's mindset, there's a personal pivot, so you get married, go back to school, move to a different state, etc. And then there's your career pivot. And under career pivots, there's 5 different categories. You have where you've been fired, company goes bankrupt, you move up within an organization, you change companies completely, you change industries completely, and then it's one where, which a lot of people did during the pandemic, is said, hey, I don't want to work for anyone else, I want to start my own company. So those are the 5 different categories under career pivots. Now, when people think of pivot, and especially during the pandemic, this is the scene that everyone can relate to. And as you're watching this scene, I want you to think, did they get it right or did they do something wrong?
Here we go, pivot, 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 pivot. Shut up, shut up, shut up. Here we go.
Oh, there we go. All right, so raise of hands. Anyone could chime in. Did they get it right or did they do something wrong?
I would say they did something wrong because they didn't actually try anything new. They just like kept retrying the same method.
Yep. Anyone else? Do you see it from a different perception? Did they get it right or did they get it wrong?
I mean, I guess they got it right in a sense because they were going up the steps, and I feel like that was like the goal.
All right.
Limited
So
communication. There was limited communication. Other than just the word pivot, didn't really explain what the pivot is.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of would have been helpful.
Yeah. So there's so much wrong there, but what Yvette, as she said, they did get something right because they were able to make it up the stairs, but they weren't thinking of the other possibilities and there was no communication. I want you to take a moment and reflect. Has there been a point in your life where you were faced in a situation and you thought 100% you were 100% correct, the other person was 100% wrong, there were no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and you were 100% right? Has anyone ever in their whole life been in that situation? I'm not afraid to admit it. did you ever, when you think back on that situation, did you ever think, maybe there was a different point of view? Many years later, I'll admit it. Anyone? Would you like to share? And I know this might be a little bit out of the comfort zone, but would anyone like to share when they thought they were 100% right, no ifs, ands, or buts about it? Anyone? No? All right, maybe as we go along, but I want you to keep in mind this situation. And as we go through the activities, I want you to start to think, oh, what was the other side? How else could that be perceived? Because so many times in leadership, communication is key. And leaders don't, when they don't effectively communicate, it's hard to see the other point of view. Or if they're closed-minded and can't see the other point of view, so many stalemates. Even if you, as a student, you are pivoting or transitioning, those terms are one and the same. So as you're transitioning from graduation into the real world, you have to see things from a different perspective in order to keep moving forward, in order to keep that momentum going. Because if you are only thinking from one side, it is going to hinder how quickly you get to where you want to go. So benefits of pivoting your perception. Develop an inclusive mindset. And what that means is adopting the ability to see a situation. It doesn't matter what type of situation, but a situation from all different points of views, from the different stakeholders' perceptions. I was a part of a project a couple years ago, and it was for a sports organization. They wanted, there was at the forefront was the advertising department and the finance department. And they wanted to be able to spend all this ad money to get the product out for launch. And what was occurring is advertising, I'm just going to make up these numbers, was saying, okay, we need $100 to get ads in these magazines, on these billboards, on these radio stations. And the finance department kept saying, we can't do it, we can't do it, we can't do it. But the ad department was saying, yes, but we just landed a round of funding for, say, $200. We know we have that money. And it was at a standstill. It wasn't until both parties could take a step back. And the finance department was saying, yes, we did get that $200 in funding, but we need that to pay your salary. We need that for office rent. And they went through all the items that they had to pay out. And that's when the advertising department said, oh, we didn't realize that we had to pay vendors and we had to pay this. So that's why the ad department was only receiving, let's say, $10. So that is a clear situation, or a good example of when they're both right. That's the problem with points of views. You are both right. You are always right. But it's how you're able to see it from a different perspective that helps you understand, and then you can move forward. So develop an inclusive mindset. And then it develops the positive team collaboration, because when you can trust the other party because they are being transparent and they are giving you all the details, that helps you be able to see from their point of view. So when they say, no, we can't do this because of X, you are on their side saying, okay, but how can we do this? And by able to accept the other person's point of view, come to agreement, you are able to move the project at a quicker rate to get to the innovation and success which everyone wants. Any questions about that? I'm happy, jump in if you have a question at any point. No? Okay. Ooh. Come on. Another point of, or another exercise of trying to adapt that mindset is, I always tell people, think big. And I don't know if you can see my arms, but it's not so much about thinking outside of the box. It's widening your scope, widening your perception, your point of view. Because when you think big, when you're faced with a problem and you start coming up with solutions, okay, how can I handle this? Even if you were laid off during the pandemic, if you are trying to meet a deadline for a project, coming up with a new product, coming up with a new course, whatever it is, if you can broaden your scope and come up with the craziest ideas to that problem, it is 100% easier to scale back from something so far out there. When I work with corporations and I do this with their employees, we go through this whole exercise of what you have to give me 20 solutions to the problem at hand. And what happens when you start doing those 20 solutions, you can do this on your own for any problem. The first 5 are going to be realistic. The next 5 are going to take you a little beyond your comfort zone. But then the next 10 should be the most outrageous answers, because those outrageous answers get you to a middle ground, get you to a solution that works for you, for your team, whatever situation that is. So here are some companies, when you think big and are able to scale back, it's easier than if you just start here and then try and scale back. You don't come up with a good solution or the best solution. Look at Nike, Tesla, Disney, Apple. They thought big. They saw a problem and they expanded their scope, and then they narrowed it down to something that was manageable. Whenever you face a situation, 1, think about how can it be perceived from a different perspective? And then 2, how can you expand your scope in order to scale it back? Any questions about that? Or the 20 solution exercise? I'm happy to go over that again or give you an example. Anyone? No, we're good. Okay, rolling right along. So here's where it comes to pivot your perception. How many of you, when you very first saw this picture, did you see a 6 or a 9? 6, all right. Anyone else? But this is a classic example. Depending on where you are standing, it is either a 6 or a 9, and they're both right? Based on where they're standing, they are both right. So how do we start to adapt that perception of there could be a different answer? Here we go. This, and I really would like some participants on this. All right. What does everyone see?
Grass
So
growing.
if I go ahead.
I said grass growing. It's Jeff.
Grass
Hi.
growing. Yep. Anyone
Flowers. Flowers.
Flowers. Yep.
And
Anyone
that
else?
looks like the plant emoji.
Yep. Anyone? Alien antennas. That was the first thing I saw when I saw this, right? And the overarching theme is when you have problems, everyone is right. So if I saw the alien antennas, I was right. If you saw the plant emoji, you were right. If you saw flowers or grass, you're right. But all you have to do is change the perspective. Oh, where'd it go? Now what does everyone see? I saw whiskers on an animal. Anyone else?
A bubble wand.
Oh, I'm sorry, say that louder.
A bubble wand.
A bubble wand. Excellent. Any more? One more?
In the chat, Kaya is saying eyelashes. I was going to say party decorations. It looks like a banner to me.
Yeah.
Octopus legs.
But now you flip it upside down. What do you see?
A spoon.
Yep.
I see
I
like
saw
a track.
lights.
Oh,
Did someone say something?
oh yeah, I see like a racetrack.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I see like the legs of a tall bug.
Oh, all right. All right. And again, I know it's just opposite, but these are, well, these are all the different perspectives, and everyone was right in what they said. So if you're able to step back and say, hey, you are right, that could be, it is going to make things so much easier. Now, I want you keep this in mind or draw it out real quick, because we're going to go through 2 more of these, and then I'm going to ask you to do something. So anyone real quick, what do you see?
2 shovels.
Headphones.
Yep.
Headphones, yeah, headphones.
Yep.
I see like the top of a crutch.
Yep. What about on this side?
Robot arms.
Hammer.
Yep. I see
A
like
mouth.
a clip. Yeah. This I see cricket, the sticks to play cricket with.
Duck feet.
Yeah, legs.
Clubs.
Yep. And then, all right. These are all the different angles. One more. Anyone?
Blocks.
Dominoes.
Pipes of an organ.
Chalk.
Chalk, yep.
Logs.
Logs.
Battleship guns.
Atoms.
I saw a piano keys on it.
Hmm.
A fence. We get slides at a theme park, right?
Wind
And-
chimes.
Wind chimes.
So all of your ideas, however you saw it, you are right. Here is what I would like you to do, is if I asked you to come up with a widget, any widget, and you had to combine all three of these pictures, what would you come up with? So here we have the squiggly things, we have the duck feet looking things, and then we have the logs. What would you come up with as a widget?
All right, sorry, can you just clarify what you mean by a widget real quick?
Yeah, so product, an item. Yep, if someone said
It's an all-time thing. They're too young.
it comes from the business background too, but widgets, yeah, just mean a product, anything. So
I guess
if
like an
I came
action
to you-
figure.
if I came to you and said, here's your material, and these were the 3 items that you had to work with, what would you create?
I'm seeing an action figure.
Ooh,
Good one,
okay.
Lisa.
For which one? Or like what type of action figure?
Oh, I thought you meant if we combined them all.
yeah. So what
Yeah,
would
I don't
your
know. I
action-
see like those. I don't really know what they would do, but the thing that looked like the hands, that was like the arms, the straw things could be the body, the eyelashes were the face. So
Okay.
each component just made up a different part of like the body of a figure for me.
All right. I love it.
Do you want to see a picture of it or what?
Yeah, if you want to show it.
Okay, no, I'm just, you know.
Anyone else, would you like to share? If I could just get one more person, that would be great.
All right, I have the pipes in a horizontal position, and then the upside down earphones resting on that, and then the first one coming out of it. So like the spoons or grass growing would be coming out of the thing formed by the pods, and it's resting on that. Now, what it does, I don't know, but you said a widget, and in reality, a widget doesn't always do something. It's a product that's used in business. So
All right.
It doesn't show up on the paper, yes. But I combined all three.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the two people who shared. They're both right? There's no specific right answer to this. So they are both right in what they created. What I would like you to do is think back to that situation from a couple of minutes ago that I asked, have you ever been in a situation where you thought you were 100% right? Are you able now, after going through this very brief exercise, able to at least understand that there is another side to the situation? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
I only see a couple people, so I hope so, because this is to start to get you to think differently, to start to say, hey, what if I did come from it at a different angle? Would the outcome have been different? Oh, I don't know what I just did. What do you see here in this picture?
An old man.
Man with a cap, with a beard.
Yep.
You're like a guy in a golfing hat.
Yeah.
Yep. But if you flip it, now what do you see?
A dog with a bone
Yep. Yep. So
on a mat.
So today, I want to thank you for working with me through this presentation. And it's all about just flip it and you're going to see a different side to the situation. I am open for questions. If anyone would like to share, I would love to hear your story or how maybe you're going to start thinking differently. But I want to thank you. And if you would like to stay in touch, here's my contact information.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to share some stories. It's whatever you like. You took the time to come today, so I would like to make sure that you're walking away with the information that you thought you would get from this presentation.
Yeah, I definitely did. I just had a question. Earlier you said something about like 10 questions. What was the order of that, or how should that go again? So I could write that down.
So it's actually the 20 solutions to a problem.
Yeah.
And what you do is you write down your problem. So for instance, I taught college for 5 years, and I would do this with my class, and I would say, the New York Yankees want to develop a more engaging program for their fans. What can you create? And I told them it has to be a crazy creative idea. So from that, what you do, so you write the problem or the issue on the top of a paper. You start going through, you have to 100% have to come up with 20 possible solutions. And the reason for those 20 possible solutions is because right around the 13 to 15 solution spot is when you really start to come up with an idea that you're going to either you're going to have to scale it down for it to be manageable in order to work with it, or you're going to be able to take that and expand it. So usually those first 5 to 6 solutions that you come up with, those are the most realistic, everyone should know this is how to do it solutions. Then as you're going, it's going to get harder, and you want it to get harder, because as you're facing that, that's when you have those breakthroughs. So then the next 5 to 6, they're a little bit more realistic, but it starts to get a little bit more unrealistic. Then those next 5 to 6 are unrealistic. You're not going to have the money. You're not going to have the team. It's not possible for you to move across state, whatever that is. But then the next group, they're going to be so far out, but in that creative craziness or genius, if you will, that's where the real idea comes from. So just keep pushing, because one of the problems is as soon as you come up with one solution, you think that's it, be all end all, this is going to work. And that may not necessarily be the case. It is finding that second, third, fourth right solution to the problem that actually gives you a sustainable solution. So push yourself. If you do this activity, push yourself to get to 20, because within that 20, you will find a sustainable solution. So did that answer it? Any other questions about that?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good, Cheryl. I do group stuff all the time, and sometimes I talk to student groups, and I ask them to ask, when they're trying to find a solution for a problem, I ask them to ask themselves why they did that 5 times in a row and answer it differently every time.
Oh, I like that.
And that helps them rethink about their mission and their mission statement.
Yep. I like that a lot. Yeah. And it's another way they're pivoting their mindset. They're pivoting their perception on what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. All right. If everyone has this, I'm just going to stop the screen share so I can see everybody. All right. Any other questions or pivoting? I have so much research on pivoting, and I didn't want to bore you with all the facts and the details, but when you do start to pivot, or you come to that pivot point, as I believe, was it Allie who talked about the pivot point? A pivot point is just a point in your life, a point in a situation where you either say, okay, I have to pivot my mindset. Yeah, I have to go from a negative mindset to a positive mindset in order for this situation to work. Or in your personal life, the pivot point is, do I go back to school? Don't I go back to school? Do I move? Don't I move? And then the career pivot point is it time for me to ask for that promotion? Is it time for me to start my own business? So during those pivot points, first, you 100% have to start with your mindset. And so much of that is communication too. It's also the communication within yourself, because if you can't get that communication right, let's talk about from a brand perspective, and this is a whole nother topic. I believe someone already talked about this, but my belief is you are a brand, and every day you market yourself. And how you market yourself depends on the situation that you're in. And you have to pivot your mindset in order to say, okay, I'm no longer in this situation. I want to be in this situation. This is how I'm going to start marketing myself. So anytime you come to an obstacle, a challenge, pivot point, take a step back, reflect, and say, how do I want to perceive this? How do I want it to wind up? And then start working on that process of pivoting the mindset in order for you to keep going forward, remain steadfast.
Isn't pivoting like being open-minded to other possibilities? So it's a matter of, it's a matter of opening your mind to know that unfortunately that you may not know everything, you may not have all the solutions, and that someone else may actually have something better.
Yeah. And that goes to pivoting your perception, right? If you're saying I'm 100% correct on this, you don't have that inclusive mindset. You don't have that openness to see it from a different angle, and seeing it from a different angle may be, I need help in this. I need to learn more about this. So Rich, 100%. Would anyone like to share one of their pivot stories?
Actually, speaking about what you just said as an example in terms of coming back to college, I took like a 2.5-year hiatus because of some personal stuff that went on with my family. And so making the decision to come back was definitely one of those situations where I really had to change my mindset, because I was getting to the point where I was like, I don't think I can go back at this point. Like, it's just going to keep on going. Maybe I should just stick with retail. And it took a lot to like say, I think I can do this. So yeah, that was my big moment, was talking to my friends, especially the ones who had pursued grad school and had gone back after taking a break, and saying, okay, well, how did you do it? How did you approach it? And like, do you have any advice?
Yeah. Congratulations. What's your major?
Psychology.
Psychology. I love it. And that's the thing with pivoting. There are some people who think that it is too late for them to pivot to whatever that is, whether personal or career. And it's never too late to pivot. The important thing is that you try. And it's in that trying that you're already 100% succeeding. It's when you don't try is when you have that what if moment. And having that what if moment may make you feel like a failure, but it's better. In my research, real quick, there were 3 core themes to pivoting: self-confidence, risk-taking, and networking. And under risk-taking, all of my participants, even for my column, when I write about the individuals, everyone talks about how it was more important for them to take a risk and try it than 10 years from now saying, what if? So the risk of not taking it was greater than actually taking the risk. So again, congratulations. That's amazing that you were able to take that step in your life and in your career. Yeah.
Yeah, what you just said reminded me of something I heard. Probably not going to cite it that well, but it said something about how something in the moment might be like hard at the moment, but then like the not doing something and then having that what if lasts a lifetime.
Yeah.
But like, which one do you choose? And
Yeah. Yeah. For me, back in 2015, I was working with a startup, and at that time I said, I'm doing all this work for other people. I can do this on my own. And I started one company, and I never recommend this to anyone who wants to start a company. Do not start 2 companies as you're trying to get the first company off of the ground. It does not work well. But it happened to me, the circumstances, and I was operating both companies, and they just weren't going well because I wasn't able to give my 100% to both of them. And I had to make a decision to dissolve one of those companies. And at that time, I said, I really wanted, my goal my entire life has been to become a New York Times bestselling author. And at that moment in my life, my writing was put on the back burner because of grad school, work, etc. And when I decided to dissolve that one company, I did feel like a failure because everyone saw me as this big entrepreneur. She has 2 companies and it's going great, when behind the scenes, that just wasn't the case. And I had to tell myself, at least I tried. But now I'm at a pivotal point where I said, okay, you're going to focus on your writing. And 3 months later, I met my former editor at Forbes. And it was in that decision for me to pivot my mindset, say you're not a failure, you tried, is when it opened up for what do I really want to do. And then it opened it up even further. So when I was at an event, when I met my former editor, I was open to that opportunity. Yeah. Anyone else learn? Is there anything in the chat? Like, did anyone put any questions in the chat at all?
You were in the first cohort of the organizational leadership program.
A second cohort.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in the 6th. So.
Congratulations. It's definitely changed since I've been in it.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. but going through that program it's opened up so many doors for me. It's so worth it. So keep going. You're gonna, come, especially with your dissertation, it's gonna be a little difficult, but just keep going. It's worth it.
And to the young lady you said about going back to school, imagining being out for 10 or 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
And then going back to school. So if there is a pivot involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I relate because I'm about to start going back in the fall because I had to take a year of medical leave off because I have a lot of complicated medical issues, and that in itself gives me a lot of pivots and stuff to deal with, just kind of on like a day by day basis based on what I'm feeling. And now I'm like dealing with a lot of these pivots and changes when it comes to transitioning from my life being just like a patient and getting back into being a student while also still being a patient.
Yeah. All I can say is one step at a time, even if it's 1 hour at a time. That's how sometimes you have to approach these situations. And as long as you keep moving forward, you are succeeding. It doesn't matter how fast you're going, just as long as you keep moving forward. So one, congratulations that you are going back to school, and two, just take it hour by hour if you have to, or sometimes minute by minute. I've been in those situations too, and you will eventually get there. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's very like valid advice, especially for people like me that also want to do medicine because I'm a pre-med. There's
Mhm.
always this like time, just like it always feels like you're being rushed when it comes to trying to get into such a competitive field and everything like that. And like that's just really important for people to remember. Like it doesn't matter how long it takes, it's just as long as you're moving forward towards on that journey.
Yeah, 100%. And it all comes down to pivoting your perception, right? Because if you think that, oh my goodness, everyone's doing X and I'm not doing that, what am I doing with my life, etc., you're going to start, that hinders you more, that weighs down on you. Whereas if you just take it hour by hour, hey, this is what I was able to accomplish in an hour. Yes, I'm winning. And I love celebrating the small moments, because celebrating those small moments helps lay that foundation for you and get you excited to keep going after what you want. Anyone else? Like, thank you so much for sharing. This was great.
Yeah, this is a great group today. Definitely one of our more interactive sessions that we've had. So I really appreciate everybody for kind of taking that risk and being brave and sharing, because I know that, you know, change or as you said, failing forward is not always easy to talk about or to admit. And so I do appreciate everybody sharing their stories. Thank you again, Dr. Robinson, for joining us today and leading this very important and useful discussion. I definitely enjoyed all of the different activities and just it was an overall great session. So thank you again for sharing your time with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And for everyone who I know who joined, thank you. And yeah, this is great. Feel free to connect with me, or if you have any questions, reach out to me on email. I love keeping the conversation going.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.